Oh, just about to start recording now, and then I live above what do you call them? Estate agents. There you go. A real estate agents. Get the words out, Vix. I was just about to start recording, and then the owner's son just came around the corner. That would have been a bit embarrassing if I was nattering to myself. He's also quite good looking, but that's another matter. Anyway, so today I'm off to right a wrong that I made on Friday. I saw an amazing game that I actually really do want to play on the Super Famicom. So to give the game away. But anyway, the only problem is that it's 3¼ hours or so away from me. So I decided that I shouldn't have passed it up. So I'm off to go and hopefully find that it's still there. And if it's at the price that I remember seeing it at, to definitely purchase it. So join me on a road trip where we're going to go and look at a bit of a gem of a game that is hard to come by and certainly not cheap. So, and enough of looking at the real estate agent's son. So let's get this on. So our journey starts in Iwate, where I live, and takes us north through the coastal mountain region of Iwate. The road between Miyako and Hachinohe is made up of expressway and the old national route, as the expressway is not yet complete in a few places. As this was a last minute decision to head up to Aomori prefecture, this was a bit of a race against time before closing time. Our destination is Towada City, to the west of Hachinohe, which again required a slow rush hour crawl through the city. The total distance is only about 160 kilometres, approximately 100 miles, but the incomplete expressway meant a total estimated journey time of over 3 hours. Oh, I was going to try and do a little bit of a piece to camera just as we're setting off. I've filled up the car again, so my little K car, which is a Kiko, but it seems like for a change I've actually been green flagged through all of the traffic signals, so yeah, so all good. So yeah, 3¼ hour drive up into Aomori prefecture. I live in Iwate, in Miyakoshi, so yeah, quite a way to go. So just joining the expressway, as you can probably hear because my K car makes so much noise. I grew up with the Super Nintendo as my third gaming platform after the Commodore 64 and the Amiga, and I lived for Super Play magazine, which was an incredible publication that explored so much more than just the Super Nintendo itself, but also Japanese culture, anime, manga, and reports from Japan. It was an amazing culture trip. The magazine was always full of reviews of import games from Japan, tantalising as all that we didn't receive, such as Chrono Trigger, Goemon 2 and 3, and classics like Live Alive. So to come here and see all these otherwise mythical games is quite the thing. But there is one game that was not a Japan exclusive that I am after today. And it's at a good price that will be worth the journey if it all checks out. As you can see, the scenery in Iwate is amazing. It's a crying shame that people don't really extend their vacation in Japan to come to Tohoku. It's overlooked for Tokyo and Kyoto, for example, but if you can extend your vacation, I would highly recommend it. No! Just as I was beginning to make some progress, I got behind another truck. I have to be honest, on a day like today, it's August the 17th, there isn't a single country in the world that this weather doesn't remind me of. Well, actually, that's a big lie. Yes, I can. The United Kingdom. Oh well. I've been in Japan now for 5 months, and I've been amazed at the sheer volume of Super Famicom or Super Nintendo games available. It stands to reason, as it was the most popular console here at the time, the #1. This compares greatly to the UK. There's much less variety in the available games for the system, and even the common games like Donkey Kong Country are expensive relative to Japanese prices. For example, a loose DKC card in the UK is around about £15 from CEX, but in Japan, the self-same game, you can expect to get it all day long for 100 yen. That's the equivalent of 75 pence or almost $1 US. Okay, nearly at Hachinohe. Just a quick stop just to grab a nice coffee because it's still quite humid today and, well, I need something to keep me awake on this journey, so we seem to stop at this family mart. Thankfully, the run from the Iwate/Aomori border into Hachinohe was a lot smoother, and time was being kind to me, although I knew that I was heading straight into rush hour and a big city that could be a big problem with me getting there on time. As I was driving, it did bring to my mind some various crazy trips I had done in the past to collect something I really wanted at the time. Sometimes, part of the thrill in life is the journey itself. I certainly feel that. As much as I enjoy playing the games from the past, I find it very important to continue to make new memories and to keep looking forwards. So to create a new memory with an old game like the way that I'm doing in this trip, perfect way to do it. As you can see, Aomori, at least in this part that I've come to, has a much gentler countryside than say the part of Iwate that I live in. And though the setting sun made me realise that closing time was getting ever closer, it was beautiful to see the rice fields and the sun dancing on the shadows of the trees. It was very beautiful. It did, however, seem fairly ridiculous to be making almost the same journey I had made only just a few days earlier. The next big problem was getting into the centre of Towada City. It was very much feeling like rush hour by this stage, but I was also getting a bit nervous. What if this cult classic had been sold in the meantime? What if the price was a lot more than what I remembered? What would I do then? So here it is. This is what I came for. It's in this cabinet. I'm sorry, I should have filmed this some more, but I was a bit caught up in the excitement of the purchase, but I also had the pressing fact that I'd probably not be home until well after 9 PM as I had to make the return journey that night, and I'd need to be up for 6 AM the following morning for work. Ah, すみません。はい、あそこはタンスの中にスーパーファミコンのゲームが欲しいです。はい。はい。はい。すみません。はい。こちら。はい。はい。はい。こちら。はい。そうそう。はい。はい。はい。はい。いいです。はい。はい。はい。欲しいです。お願いします。はい。ありがとう。はい。ありがとうございます。Wow, they actually still had it. What a result! So I've spent 3.5 hours driving up here. It's quite a long drive back home, but never mind, eh? Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and you only live once and all those cliches. So yes, beautiful evening up here in Aomori. This is Towada City. And yeah, the hard-off store here has quite a few gems in. I suppose it's just a bit off the beaten track to most retro game hunters because it's nowhere near Tokyo. It's not really in Hachinohe. It's still a good maybe hour or so outside. You could easily get the train, I think, from Hachinohe to Towada, but yeah, it's not exactly on the beaten track, so I think that's possibly why I found actually some really good stuff in Akita City, for example, but also Towada City. Yes, that had some real good gems, as you're about to find out. And yeah, so it wasn't like bargain of the century. It's not like finding Axelay for 100 yen like I did the other time when I was in Morioka. It's not quite as good as that, but it's still pretty good, and it's all about the adventure, huh? So, and I haven't seen this game anywhere else in Japan. I didn't really look for it in Tokyo. I didn't spend a huge amount of time in Akiba, maybe a couple of hours. I'd imagine it was in Super Potatoes somewhere, but at probably an exorbitant price. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to reveal what my pickup was, and more importantly, I can't wait to actually get on and actually play this game. It's meant to be really hard, but I'm up for a challenge. So I keep on saying there aren't actually that many more Famicom or Super Famicom games rather that I want to pick up, but this so happens to be just one of them, so yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, folks, because I must concentrate on the road and begin to head out of town now. So what was this game? Any guesses? It was Hagane. So yes, a bit of a cult classic and known to fetch a pretty price. It's a tough as nails game in the vein of classics like Ninja Gaiden, but souped up for the 16-bit era. Legend has it that part of its allure in North America is that it was apparently a blockbuster exclusive, but there's zero evidence, and as SNES Drunk recently said in one of his videos, it sounds like a hokum story designed to jack up the value. Surprisingly, Hagane was actually also released in PAL territories too, but is just likewise as expensive. So, do I enjoy it? Oh yes! Admittedly, I have only made it to stage 1-4 so far, but I've only been able to play it twice, and only at length once so far. So when I finish this video, I'll be playing it right away. So yes, it was unboxed, but I verified that it was genuine, and indeed, I had a warranty with a receipt. But I took a look at the innards, as well as the label, and it all pointed to being 100% genuine. For me, box games are only important to some games, but mostly loose cartridges are all good with me. It will certainly make it easier for me to move around Japan over the years. So, what was the price paid? Was it as cheap as Axelay that I paid 100 yen for a few weeks ago in Morioka? No, not quite. This wasn't a complete bargain, but it was still a good price. I paid 4,500 yen plus tax. That's the equivalent of 42 US dollars, or about 35 Great British pounds. Sure, it cost me maybe about 1,000 yen in fuel to get there and back, but I was able to inspect the item and have the guarantee there as well if there were any issues. It was definitely worth it. Super Famicom copies do tend to sell for around about 100 US dollars unboxed, a lot cheaper than the US or PAL cartridges. But it shows it's worth shopping around if you are in Japan. Akiba is going to have what you're looking for, at almost probably twice the price, and yes, you can probably guarantee it will be there. But part of the thrill is the journey, the exploration of Japan that goes with it, and finding a game that you've looked forward to playing for many years, on real hardware as well. So, I hope you enjoyed this retro game hunting in North Japan episode. It's been a great deal of fun, and I guess that all remains for me to say is see you soon. Peace! So, it's come to that part of the video where I mention that I'm on Patreon. From as little as $2 a month, you can get early access to content, exclusive artwork through the post, your name mentioned on videos, as well as tips that I don't publish to the public. You can find a link in the video description below. Your subscription to my channel will also help me ensure that I can bring the latest content here from Japan.